Video games. Don't you just love them? Those silly little things. Admit it. You can either love them or hate them. You cannot deny them. As parents, you can think they are stealing productive time from your son's or daughter's life, but you have to admit, your kid doesn't need any motivation or inspiration to play video games. Do they? They are an undeniable force. I just felt this force when I was a kid playing with 8-bit consoles. They absolutely fascinated me. I'm a maker, a do-it-yourself guy. Although in my childhood, I was the kind of mess maker in the house, taking apart toys and gadgets, sometimes valuable gadgets. I guess I wanted to know how they worked. But video games were far beyond my comprehension at that time. I soon figured out that the maker inside me was not going to remain content with just playing video games. Eventually, I taught myself how to make games. It remained a hobby for a while, and until people started liking them. And that's how my career as a game designer and developer got started. So I've been making games professionally for over a decade now, and some of them also gone awards. Today, I want to talk to you about the undeniable power of video games and the pivotal role they can play in changing this world. Yeah. We are the most self-centered creatures on this planet, and changing our worldview is probably the most challenging of a job of all. Would you agree on that? So how can we change ourselves? Do you think impactful Indian films like Tare Zameen Par or Three Idiots were able to change the way we perceive a child in need or the pressures of higher education system? Perhaps you thought about this afterwards. Maybe all you got out of is Amir Khan is equally believable as a student as he is a teacher. He's a wonderful actor. But one thing we know for sure from data, that student suicide rates have increased and since been increasing. So I can't help but ask, can narrative alone cause a shift in our worldview? Let's take literature and music too, which are other things. Life-changing books, thought-provoking songs, giving different insights into our lives. Does they really change us? Or are we fooling ourselves? We're very likely to enjoy the emotional highs and fantasies and return back to our reality for good. We may treasure some of the concepts, ideas, and insights in our idea chest, only to be challenged safely among friends sometimes later. That's all. So what about solid debate? Do you think a well-crafted logic chain will break into your worldview? Reality shows that we are most likely to break away from the discussion itself using excuses and what abouts before it can make a little dent in our opinion. Oh, yeah, my friends, hard nut to crack. So when everything seems to be failing in the video games, the most unlikely candidate for the job, the silly little things. Video games have come a long way from 8-bit consoles to ray-traced consoles over roughly 40 years. And they are only getting started. Yes, I believe we are yet to see their full potential. As it turns out, our brain is hardwired to love these silly little things. Yes, these video games. More than anything else, our brain are constantly predicting the future by simulating a model of the world inside our head using past experiences. It continuously updates this model by making guesses and keeping the ones that seems coherent to it. It essentially is kind of at play. The act of playing is at the core of how we interact, experience, and exist. Even when you are watching a film or reading a book, your mind is trying to play games with it, thinking 10 steps ahead in a film, attempting to associate it with your existing worldview. Although it's a futile effort. Our mind is not interested in changing its worldview based on someone else's story or strange idea. But this changes when you introduce video games. Yes, you see, all non-interactive narratives are nouns, but games are verbs, not nouns. Active systems, very similar to us. We don't exist as a story. We are a living, breathing, highly reactive system. So, when we play an interactive game, where our mind can apply and test new ideas alongside its unique worldview, it can remodel itself based on the feedback very easily. And this is how it truly can be impacted. So we have all heard the saying, right? Learn from your mistakes. This is it. Games are the only place where you can learn through mistakes, but in a safe environment. Although there is a caveat, a strong one. Not every video games can do this. To impact our model, a video game must align itself with reality. It must let the player contemplate real-world ideas through the play. It must not force any idea. It must be unbiased to winning and losing. Instead, let the player make their own mistakes and arrive at their own conclusions. If the player feels that the outcomes are of their own creation, even after losing the game, they will assimilate the concept. This is the core of the technique. So, are these types of games made yet? Yes, they are. Do they need advanced technology to do so? No. Actually, they have been around for thousands of years. Not video games. Let me introduce to a board game from ancient India that was lost under colonial oppression, like many other things. The game is called Gan Chopper. Its design was oriented towards understanding complex concepts like morality and karma. I'm sure many of you must have not heard about this game, but you must have played the plagiarized version, the juvenile version of Gan Chopper. Snakes and ladders. Yes, you must have played that. Snakes and ladders copied some of the mechanics, the game mechanics, but left out the essence or the soul of Gan Chopper. You see, Gan Chopper was not competitive. It was not made as a 2 or more player competition like Snake and Ladders. It was a more of a profoundly contemplative game than competitive. where winning was not the objective, it was a way to instruct morality. And the game was bang on effective. The designers of this ancient game, the designers of this, I don't know when exactly it was made, it is surely ancient. They found that the human mind is logical and distrustful to stories actually. And the games are the most effective learning tool. That was thousands of years back. Now, let me give you another example of a very recent game, very recent video game. The game is called Nier Automata. This masterpiece was designed by Yoko Taro, one of the most influential game designers today. Nier Automata dissects various philosophies and their writers, raises profound questions and insights into institutional religion, existence, and the meaning of life, which can't possibly be influenced through anything by the medium of play. It puts Western and Eastern philosophy in contrast with each other, but this game does even more. It connects you to the previous players of this game, of the game, having them assist your last fight. And at the very end, you are given the choice of helping back by sacrificing your game progress data. It's quite a sacrifice. Every gamer knows that. Apparently, the game designer hopes to change and shift the worldview of the player permanently towards unitive thinking. That's quite something, huh? Anyways, regarding me, I'm a game designer of a very limited scope. But I applied this design technique in one of my games, Missing the Game for a Cause, in a very small way, very small way. And I witnessed this impact with my own eyes. I saw how the player's worldview is severely affected by that. Missing is a game that deals with the issue of women trafficking. To design that game, I took interviews of actual trafficking survivors and translated that experience as it is. That's all I did into a game. Players are subjected to the unbiased reality of life choices of a sex worker. It resulted to a whole new level of impact among players that I gathered from different conferences, through reviews, through emails. The game surprisingly got overwhelming response with 1 million organic downloads. It won the Game of the Year award in 2016 at NASCOM GDC and paved the way for a successful crowdfunding campaign for the second game from the same world. You see, reality-based game design can be the key and the true purpose of video games. So currently, I'm continuing my journey in exploring how deep a game can impact a player's mindset, how this undeniable force can be utilized for making societal changes. We need this kind of game right now. Mankind is desperate need to change from divisive to unitive thinking. We need to use games to unify our minds. It's the most prominent medium right now. There is no way this world can heal without unitive thinking. Right now we are killing ourselves in fear of surviving or saving our individual selves. It's like an autoimmune disorder. If we want to survive as a species, we would need that tool for changing ourselves. We need a hero. Justin Richards, a science fiction writer, said, "Heroes can be found in the most unlikely places." I believe that I have found the hero that can save us. Video games.